So what is dowsing? Dowsing is the ancient art of using divining tools to locate underground water. Rob Thompson is a well-known dowser located in the heart of Sonoma Napa wine country. Rob has been successful in locating thousands of wells over the past 40 years in California and the western United States. He is a third-generation dowser who co-owned one of the largest family-operated water well drilling companies.
All right, hi, my name is Rob Thompson, and I'm here to talk about the virtual 2020 West Coast Dowsers Conference. And yeah, I'm a third-generation dowser with over 40 years experience. And I first got my first learning of dowsing when I was about 10 years old. And it was on my dad's ranch. My dad wanted to drill a water well. And so our family owns one of the largest water well drilling companies in Northern California. And my uncle's a very well-known dowser. And he came out when I was 10 years old to my dad's ranch in Santa Rosa, California. And he showed me how to dowse. In fact, I started out dowsing with, he had a willow stick at the time, and he gave me these nylon rods, and this is called a forked dowsing rod. And so he walked around with him a day, and he found a few locations for water wells, but they were really far away from the home. And so it would cost a lot of money to develop with power and trenching and water lines. So my uncle said, "Hey, Rob, here, you play around with these for a week." And I walked around the whole ranch, just going all over the place. And I finally found something, probably about 500 feet away from the house in this driveway portion. I found a big area. And so he came out the next weekend, my uncle did, and went over, and he goes, "Oh my God, you did find something." So sure enough, we staked the well. My dad went and got a permit with the county, and we proceeded to drill. And me being 10 years old, and you see this 30-ton drilling rig driving out and setting up, I mean, it's impressive. And you run it, and I mean, it's so loud, you got to wear earplugs, and there's mud and mess coming out. And we got down around 225 feet, and all of a sudden they lost circulation. And they drilled into a big underground cavern, and so they couldn't get the cuttings up. So fortunately, we have a really large swimming pool. They proceeded to hook up water pumps to the swimming pool and drained the whole pool, and also brought 2 or 3 truckloads of water in. And this is just awesome to watch. And they actually filled that void up and kept on drilling. So they drilled down to 350 feet. And ended up getting 75 gallons per minute, which is a great well in this geological area where we were drilling. And so that was my first experience, and I was just like, and I was at 10 years old, I was like, wow. I always use these dowsing rods everywhere I went, and dowse with my family on the weekends, for different jobs. And, later I went to college and got my certificate degree in construction management, and later got my general building contractor's license and engineering license, and then went to work for the company for 10 years, engineering and doing sales on water well drilling projects for wineries. You can name just about any winery, and I've done work for them in Northern California. I mean, Gallo, Kendall Jackson, Clos de Bois, it goes on and on and on. And so I did that for a number of years, about 10 years, and then I thought, I kind of got bored of it, and I decided I wanted to go into building, and so I started building homes. I sold my interest in the well drilling, the family well drilling business, and started working in construction, building houses. And at that time, I started getting calls from all the wineries. "Hey, Rob, where are you? Well, we need you to go find water." So I started doing that, and in about 5 to 10 years, I had so much work, I ended up closing down the construction business, and now I've become a full-time dowser. I mean, I've done over 4,000 projects dowsing in just California alone. That doesn't include Oregon and parts of the western United States. But I travel. I've got one of the best jobs in the world, the most fun. I get to travel all over the country, and I'm paid fairly well, and get to just see lots of small places and large places and meet lots of people, and it's just been incredible. And so today, and I wanted to show you a couple pictures. My grandfather's up here. He was the one that bought the water well drilling company in Sebastopol, California in 1940. And his 4 sons, of which one of my dad is Bob Thompson, and my uncle down here, Wayne Thompson, he's riding a horse. He was in a horse trails. And the other 2 is Jerry and Ward Thompson. And they kind of ran the company, and I worked there for 10 years. And like I said, I left, and now all I do is go around dowsing for water wells, oil, gas, shipwrecks off the coasts in California and Florida, South Carolina. And I've done some other projects in different countries, remote dowsing. Yeah, so I wanted to talk a little bit about my clients. So when I get a dowsing call, I first get a call or email from my website at robthompsondowsing.com. The first thing I'll do, I'll send them a simple contract. And for my water well dowsing, I just have a simple 1-page contract that goes over the terms, the pricing, and the travel expenses. And so I'll charge travel plus hotel fees if I'm out of town, or plane flights, and then get an hourly fee plus any other costs associated with the job. And it's just a simple agreement. And then, I'll list the acreage and get the AP number, the property address, billing, and all the information. And then, once I go out to the project, I go out and I'll physically stake the site with a wood stake, and use GPS to track it and take notes, when I'm out there on the field. And I'll come up with a dowsing report like this. This is just a simple dowsing report where I went out to a client here locally and, have 4 locations. I've got the GPS coordinates. I estimate the depth and the gallons per minute, and also the rig accessibility. How hard is it to get a rig there? Do you have to cut down roads or trees, or, to get the rig in? And then, I'll also put on, acreage, how many acres it is, any notes. And then I write a summary on which well I would drill first, which well I drill second. And of course, during the drilling project, I also say, please contact me if you have any questions. And with the report, I also do a Google Earth map. So they'll get a topograph of either the water well, or oil, or gas, or minerals underground, gold or silver, or treasure, or whatever the client's working for. All right, so I wanted to talk to you on some of the tools I bring out to a job site. And I bring out I've got a little backpack that I bring, and I bring some paper to take my notes, notepads, and I use a Garmin GPS unit to track each well or each location of either underground pipelines or septic tanks, treasure, gold, silver, oil, gas, whatever. I use that to track everything. And then here, stake, identification marker, and I'll put pertinent information here, what well it is, or a depth, or what I think the object is underground on the stake. And then I have my dowsing rods, and my dowsing rods are stainless steel, is non-magnetic, and I'm have a lot of energy, magnetic fields. I kind of screw up computers and electronic devices when I'm out of whack, like my phone and everything. Stainless steel works really well for me. A lot of people I found over the years teaching them how to dowse, they'll try copper, and I give them stainless steel and it works a lot of times. And vice versa. Some people don't resonate with stainless. They need copper or bronze or brass rods. And so I use the stainless steel for only water, locating water. I use these bronze rods for my oil, gas, and minerals. Oh, and excuse me, I'm sorry. I also use the stainless steel for underground water lines, underground electrical lines, and like septic tanks or vaults underground for a location. But these I use for minerals, shipwrecks in the ocean, oil and gas, minerals, emeralds. Did some work in Bogota, Colombia for a client. And this is what I like. It works well for me. Now these I use for oil and gas and minerals too. I use these in the car when I'm driving. You know, you've done a lot of driving in Texas and Nebraska and Kansas for oil and gas wells, and I'll just use these in there. They have a copper sleeve on them, which is kind of nice, and you don't have to squeeze them or hold them real tight, and you just put them down, angle them down, and they'll just cross when you get over the source. Or when I'm into gas, these will open up with gas. Same with the larger ones. They'll open up when you get into a gas field. This is the water witching stick, and you hold it like this, and it'll just want to pull down on you when you get over the water. It'll just want to. There's no way you can hold it. And so this is what I first started off with when I was 10 years old. And so when I come to a property like this, I start off by grounding out. It's kind of like rebooting the computer. You put these in the ground, it dispels your energy in the ground. We're all full, like an electromagnetic field. So, and what I do is I start off by just doing a rotation, thinking where's the best water in the property to drill a well. And see how it crosses there? I know that there's a well somewhere in that direction on this property. And so I'll just do a whole 360 degree. It might cross 2 or 3 times. And I generally pick the one that crosses the highest, or and I just like it crosses over there. So we'll just head over here and locate that well. I'll ground out, and it dispels your energy. And so then I'll go find the source, and every time I do it a lot during a day, is ground out between each new location, so that I leave the old information there and look for the new. And so that's grounding, and that's very important to do when you're dowsing. So I start off by grounding again, and then I head in the direction to where my rod's pointing me to. And when I get over the source, they'll start wanting to cross. And so they cross, and then when I get off the source of the water, they uncross. So then I go back in my mind, where's the best spot to drill this well? And I'll go back over the location, and boom, it crosses right here. And so at this point, I stake it, and I use a GPS meter to track it, and with a Google Earth map. And then what I'll do, the next step is to ground out, and then to find out how deep it's to be drilled to. And I do this in my head. I call the question: is this well deeper than 10 feet? 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 feet. So this well should be drilled to 100 feet. And then I will ground out, and then ask the question of how many gallons per minute. And I kind of picture it as 1 gallon of milk going by, because it gives me a volume. And so, will this well make 1 gallon a minute? Yeah, it will. 2 gallons, 3 gallons a minute, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It opens up at 11. So somewhere between 10 and 11 gallons a minute, this well will produce. So I wanted to show you another way to determine the depth in gallons per minute. And this is just a Contractor's plumb bob. metal attached just to a string. And I do the same grounding process. I ground it out first, and I'm already over the source. I found it with the rods. And then what I do is I give this a kick counterclockwise. And what I'll do is just start counting the revolutions in depth. So this well should be drilled to a depth of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. And then it just stops. So I know the well should be drilled to 100 feet. And then I'll do the same thing for the gallons per minute. I'll ground out, give it a kick, rotation, and when I'm ready, I'll just start counting. 1 gallon per minute, 2, 3 gallons per minute, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then it just dead stops. So the well's 10 gallons a minute, 100 feet. That's just another way. There's numerous tools to do the same thing. Everyone has their own style and how to dowse. And I knew a gentleman in Napa named Frank Woods, and he used a twine with a tequila bottle with water in it to do the dowsing. And we dowsed a lot together over the years. That's kind of a basic 101 on how I dowse a property. The other thing to do is stay super hydrated. I find that I can only dowse clearly for maybe 4 to 6 hours in a day, and especially if you hydrate. If you don't hydrate, you know, it's kind of like taking an exam. That's kind of how dowsing, because you're in a really deep state. You kind of just going to let go, and you can't cast judgment. Oh, well, I think that well's over there, and it's good. You have to just let go and let the dowsing rods do the work for you. And you'll find out when you just relax and let go, that's when you'll do your best dowsing. And then of course I've got a hammer and some markers. So sometimes you're out in these remote areas and it's nice to mark a tree, you know, hey, there's the mark up the tree. You can kind of find it and you can see it in the wind, the tail. And the other thing I have when I'm dowsing is like this oil. This is oil from Taft, California, where there's a lot of oil wells. And I use this kind of as a witness. What I've done is I've actually I've got oil rubbed into my bronze rods. And that makes me get a sensation. It's kind of, you call it a witness. It gives me a sensation. And also, I have this oil inside this pendulum, which acts as a witness. So when I'm map dowsing, which today's my topic is map dowsing, I use this to locate oil wells, oil and gas. And here's a little vial of gold. So if I'm looking for gold, I'll hold this in one hand, and when I'm out in the field, I'll just go right to the gold or silver or whatever might be that I'm looking for. So today I want to, my topic is map dowsing, and I've got 4 incredible projects that I've been working on over the years, and I'm going to share it with the class, these 4 projects. And first I'd like to start off by demonstrating how to map dowse remotely, not even being on the property, from your home. And so the first thing you want to do is you want to get a really good map that has a lot of detail to it, maybe even a scale. Now this is a USGS map from Texas, a project I've been working on over the years. And I'm going to show you guys how to map dowse this. You can also map dowse off a Google Earth map. And the first thing, what I like to do with map dowsing is early in the morning. I'll get up at 4 or 5 in the morning when it's really quiet, get a cup of coffee, maybe put on some light music, and just kind of look at the map, look at the roads, get really familiarized kind of with the topography and everything about the map, the scale. And I'll just kind of digest that for maybe 15, 20 minutes. And then I'll start off by just getting in the zone. And I start off by grounding. And grounding, I'll ping this on my drafting table. And so that kind of gets me in, reboots the computer, as I call it. And so and then I'll use just a regular ruler, and I'll start from the left to the right. And what you want to do is you start this pendulum swinging just up and down, straight up and down. And then what I proceed to do is I start moving this ruler very slowly and over this course of the map along my straight edge, while my pendulum, which is a metal pendulum, and I really like metal pendulums. They work well for me. They've got good weight to them. And what you'll see is when I get over the source or the oil well, it'll start wanting to rotate. And look at that, it's just starting to rotate. So right at that point where it's rotating in a perfect circle, strong, I stop the ruler, I get a pen, and then I'll draw a line down it, like that. I'll take the ruler off, and then I'll follow that, I'll give it a ground again, and I'll follow that line, that line I drew. And as soon as I get to the spot, it just starts rotating clockwise. Boom. And there is X marks the spot, so I'll draw a little X and a circle around the X. And there I go. I have a location for a potential oil well in Texas. And then from here, I kind of want to get a rough idea of how deep it is and how many barrels a day. That's how they measure wells, oil wells. Now, like water wells, they measure them in gallons per minute, but in oil, they measure them by barrels. And so I ground out. I'll hold my finger over the location, and you can either go counterclockwise or clockwise. Just depends on how you like doing it. And actually, I go counterclockwise. Most people go clockwise to measure the depth. And I'll start off by 100-foot increments. And so whenever I'm ready and kind of relax, I start off by 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 1,000, 11, 1,200, 1,300, 14, 1,500, 1,600, 17, 18, 19, 2,000, 21, 22, 23. And see that? It just stopped right around 2,300. So you know it's going to probably be between 2,200 and 2,400 feet deep. And then the same with the barrels a day. What I'll want to do is ground out and put my finger back on this location and concentrate. Give it a kick. Give yourself a kick, and just when you're ready, just start counting. And I usually count by 10 barrels a day. And if there's not 10 barrels a day there, then you can go 1, 2, 3, 4. But I'll start off with 10. So here we go. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So it's slowed down right around 50 barrels a day. So I think there's around 50 barrels a day on this one well. And so that's kind of how I map dowse. And then of course, really the best thing is to go out and field verify after you're done to really pinpoint its accuracy. I'm going to give the class 4 different maps that I've done work on over the last few years, and to map dowse yourself at home. And I would recommend doing this in a nice quiet setting, you know, either in the evening or in the morning, whatever kind of your zone is where you get into dowsing, and pick a good pendulum. There's lots of different types to use, and a ruler and a nice flat surface to work on. And one of the first ones I want to talk to you about is Kendall Jackson. And this is 1,200 acres that I've worked on, where I located 5 different wells. But on this map, I've got one really good producing well, which I drilled, which was kind of unique because this same project on the 1,200 acres, they had hired a hydrogeologist, very well known in California, and he actually drilled 2,000-foot dry holes. And I produced 5 wells that all made very large amounts of water, which is, I think, Thank you. But so here's the map. It's a Google Earth map. And just like I described, tape this down to your table and just take a ruler and slowly slide it across. As soon as you get the ruler where you find the water, mark a line down and then go up with your finger and, X mark the spot. And then do the same thing with depths on a well. You want to let the pendulum swing and count in 10-foot increments, 10, 20 in depth. And the hard thing about dowsing is perception in dowsing is everything. So 10 feet is, okay, that ceiling's at 8 feet. And so it's 10 feet, you got to picture what 10 feet is. And when you're dowsing, after you do it for a few years of map dowsing, you get your perception exactly right to the 10 feet. And then gallons per minute, the same thing. I would start off with maybe a gallon per minute. Or if it's in a large area, maybe you go with 10 gallons per minute with your pendulum. Just count in 10 gallon per minute increments until it stops. And then that'll give you your production. And how I think of a gallon, which everyone knows what a gallon of milk is. They can visualize it, they can sense it. Because sometimes people are kind of confused when they're dowsing. A gallon might mean 5 gallons to someone, and then they count like 5 and where it was 50 gallons a minute. So perception's everything in map dowsing. So that's the first project, Kendall Jackson and a water well to locate. And the second one here I've got, which has been really fun, is in Texas, in San Saba, Texas. And this I was contacted by the CEO of a very large, one of the largest companies in Texas, believe it or not, to locate oil wells on a project in San Saba, Texas. And believe it or not, in the 1920s, Edgar Cayce prophesied about this mother pool of oil, a river of oil, running through San Saba. And so they hired me. They never told me that Edgar Cayce had worked on this project back in the 20s. And they showed where 2 dry wells were drilled about, I'd say one was 500 and one was like 600 feet off the oil stream. There was about a 200 to 300 foot wide oil stream that ran through this county in Texas. And so I dowsed it, and I predicted that it would make 90 barrels a day at 2,900 feet deep. And so after I got in the car and told my client this, he pulled down his glasses and looked at me, and he says, "Son, did you know that Edgar Cayce prophesied about this oil? And he said that it was 2,800 feet deep and produced 80 barrels a day." I went, oh my God. And Edgar Cayce was 85% proficient in locating oil all over the world. And he was very famous for his health healings with people and prophesizing future events, and very interesting. So this is kind of been a fun project. So I'd like you to locate where this oil stream on this property in San Saba is. So that's the second one. Now the third one, this is a really interesting one. This is fun. This is a shipwreck off the coast of South Carolina. And we're going to send you more information on each one of these maps, kind of a written summary and information about the shipwreck. And this is what they've shown off the South Carolina coast. This is where they think the shipwreck is. This is a 10-mile by 10-mile square out in the ocean east of South Carolina, and they believe it's in the square. Now, I'm not saying that it is in the square. It could be, but it could be also outside of the square. So I want you to look at the whole map and map dows the whole thing, and I'll give you more a story about the shipwreck that's very detailed and show you what the contents, and that's the other thing important about map dowsing. The more information a dowser has in about the water or the cargo, or the more information you have, the better your results will become in dowsing. And so that's the third one. And the last one, now this is a fun assignment because I'm doing this just for a project that I want to send to the people at Oak Island. And this is, I don't know if you've heard, but the Curse of Oak Island, they've been searching for this treasure for hundreds of years. And you can watch it on YouTube or look up on Netflix or TV, Curse of Oak Island, and get lots of information. They have a show every week, Tuesday nights about it, that I've had fun watching it. But I've map dowsed it. And sometimes when you're dowsing for gold or treasure or silver, there's a lot of thought forms that are formed. And thought forms meaning that people that hid that treasure or buried it, they did not want to have anyone find it. So that kind of sends out interference in your dowsing. It's almost like when you're tuning your radio and it's all fuzzy and you can't see clearly or hear clearly the radio. It's the thought forms are incredible energy that stays surrounded with, like gold and silver. The Indians had many spiritual and thought forms that they could make it difficult to dowse on certain properties. And I have, a lot of stories that I could share with you. But Oak Island will be a fun one. So getting back to looking for gold and silver, I find it's a lot easier sometimes to actually locate the vault underground. Or if you know it was in a treasure chest that was wood with laps, look for that in lieu of the treasure. So that's what I've done here on Oak Island. I've actually looked for underground vaults. And I've actually found like 3 different locations that they have not, well, they've looked in one, but 2 of them they have not looked in, and they don't even know about. And so what I'd like to do is get you guys to do this map. And if we have a few that agree with me, I'm going to write a letter to the Oak Island and send this off to them and see what happens. So, and that's kind of the end of my topic today. I'm open for questions, and if I could go on with a lot of stories, but I'm sure we don't have time for that. So thank you. And I hope you've enjoyed the class, and look forward to looking at all your answers and going from there. Thank you.